Colonel Abigail Linnington. You are a leader, a teacher, a helicopter pilot, and so much more. Colonel Linnington, you're part of a long tradition of among the best of brown and blue graduates who have served our country. Over the years, Tufts has given us a range of service people, and you stand foremost among them, serving this nation. A graduate of West Point, you have a historian's view of tactics and leadership. Later, you taught international relations and comparative politics at that same school, going on to earn both an MA and a PhD from the Fletcher School. You have completed numerous training opportunities, including Joint and Combined Warfighting School, Command and Central Staff School, Basic Strategic Art Program, and the Defense Strategy course. You have served as Senior Plans Advisor in the Office of the Secretary of Defense for Policy, Special Assistant to the 38th Chief of Staff of the Army. While posted in Afghanistan, you were an interagency planner for U.S. Central Command, wrote for the Army Capstone Concept at U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command, and were a joint planner at U.S. Joint Forces Command. To further burnish your outstanding career, you are an aviation officer qualified in Black Hawk and Kiowa aircraft. You commanded units of the 18th Airborne Corps, the 3rd Infantry Division, and the 8th U.S. Army in the Republic of Korea. Now, you serve as Special Assistant to the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford, himself a Fletcher grad. You are also Director of the Chairman's Action Group. Your awards are many, including the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Bronze Star, the Army Aviation Badge, and the Air Assault Badge. You've been involved on the Council on Foreign Relations, the French-American Foundation, and the American Council on Germany. You have been an inspirational alumna of Fletcher and before that West Point, and a role model for your brothers and sisters in arms and those who wish to serve their country in any capacity. While we could not give you an action figure, which would seem appropriate here, on behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, it is my honor to bestow upon you the Distinguished Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Wow, I don't really recognize who we're talking about here, but my mom is certainly proud. And thanks you. What I feel today is just gratitude. This is an amazing community, and achievement is such a weighty word and not one I feel ready to accept. I feel like there are so many more things to do and to accomplish in this world, where we have so many geopolitical problems at our doorstep today. But the Tufts alumni and my journey on this career, Fletcher and Tufts has been a central part of. And I'm just so grateful to be standing here with you amongst these distinguished alumni and amongst these amazing other honorees. It's very inspirational. So I thought I'd share with you today who some of the people are that have inspired me and have taught and encouraged me on this path, in which Fletcher and Tufts played an immensely central role. the spark that really led me to know that I had found the right place when I had gone to West Point and sort of wondered if that was the right place for me was a Fletcher PhD, newly minted, 25 years old, shows up and decides she's going to teach West Point cadets about the history of the Middle East and the politics of the Middle East. You know, a little bit of a daunting task, especially to graduates who could end up there in the near future. And little did we know how much in the near future in the mid-90s. And Professor Ruth Beitler really sparked for me what any professor would hope, not only in their first year, but in their many years, to spark amongst their students, which was a lifelong passion for trying to figure out how to reconcile America's foreign policy with its interventions overseas and its military strategy. She introduced me to another visiting professor at West Point by the name of Dick Schultz, who heads the Security Studies program at the Fletcher School. And into the classroom, he brought some of the greats from this institution. Historian Layla Fawaz, and historian Andy Hess, and international relations professor of theory, Bob Faltzgraf. And how could you not be inspired to try and figure out the world when those folks were teaching you? And so at the end of my time at West Point, Dick Schultz wrote on my senior thesis, you know, you have to think about coming to Fletcher. And so for the next 6 years, and we had an argument about this today, he says I hounded him to be able to get back here to Fletcher, which I did, but you know, he encouraged me too. So it was really these Fletcher professors and these educators that inspired me and stretched my thinking in these new fields, like Professor Babbitt in the conflict resolution, the conflict management. How do we resolve these conflicts from a very, very different perspective, a different literature, a different base of understanding about how conflicts are generated than you find in the traditional security studies program. Professors like Tony Shays that really stretched my thinking in understanding the rule of law overseas and how we reconcile that domestically, which served me quite well in a way that I wouldn't have imagined trying to put together a rule of law task force in Afghanistan and reconcile a lot of our policies about how we detain people and how you support nascent institutions to grow in other countries in the rule of law. I was also have been inspired by the example of my family and my friends. My mom and dad are here today, and my brother and sister-in-law and my husband have all served in their own ways, whether it was in the military, whether it was as teachers in society, whether it's been building a business that is socially conscious. And those examples, not to mention my husband just full out making life as special as it is when you have a crazy career and you're raising two beautiful children together, that he has empowered me to be able to have this role together. So if the first decision that really changed my path was to go to West Point, the second major decision of my life to choose the right partner was immensely, immensely important to being on this path. The friends that I formed, these lifelong relationships at Fletcher, the peers that inspired me, like Lauren and Jody that are joining us here today, that were partners in crime to try and push you to try and achieve more than you thought you could in writing that 300-page dissertation, were coming from different sectors of society and different fields of study that I was not seeing on a daily basis in my military life, that was incredibly inspirational and pushing me to think in new and diverse ways. Finally, I have to share with you that I'm incredibly inspired every day by the people that I see, because in my current role, I have the benefit of going out and seeing where our service members are around the world, and where our diplomats serve, and where our intel analysts serve, and all the other sectors of government our development experts serve worldwide. We have 300,000 military service members serving in 177 countries around the world. Think about that. 300,000 uniformed military in 177 countries. And they're serving alongside diplomats and intel experts and development experts, as I said. And they have a tough job to do every day at the tip of the spear, as we call it, of US foreign policy. And so most of these service members are between the age of 19 and 25 years old. They are the implementers of these decisions that we serve. I mean, our other professionals tend to be a little bit older, but in the military, they're young. They're really young. I sat and had the privilege of talking with some of our ROTC students this morning, and you look at them and they are going within a very short period of time, they volunteered to lead Army soldiers in the next 2 to 3 years. And think of where those places are. And in this time, they have volunteered this kind of service to the community, and it's quite remarkable. And it's something to be extremely grateful for. So I draw inspiration from those people, because when I have the privilege of being able to have a seat at the table in discussing military strategy and how it contributes to our US foreign policy choices, we want to get it right. We want to get it more right than wrong, because we don't want to leave the people that are implementing that at the end. They trust us every day. They really do. And we want to do right by them to make those tough choices. So I feel so bolstered in being in this position by having gone through this school and being given the frameworks in which to unpack some unimaginable problems that we would not have known existed even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, because history may not be identical, but it repeats itself. I think that's Secretary Schultz said something along those lines. And you can see those patterns over time, and you hope you don't make the same mistakes as you make those tough choices. And I'm so grateful that Fletcher empowered me to serve in the role that I have now, has given me those frameworks, has given me that support structure, so that I pick up the phone and I come back and I talk to the professors and I say, what are you wrestling with? What are you worried about? How do we solve this problem? And then inspired by the students that are going through that continue this commitment to service and to active citizenship. I love this phrase that I heard today amongst our group with the civic organization, because I think that's really the synergy that I feel here at Tufts and at Fletcher and that I felt at West Point, which is really bringing responsibility to our actions every day. So thank you so much.